What if everything you've been told about weight loss is missing a very important piece? Would you be surprised by that? What if all the advice that you're following about weight loss isn't necessarily wrong, but it's missing something? You're eating better, you're moving more, you're doing all the right things, but your energy is still shot and the scale isn't moving. The missing piece for most people is understanding what stress does to the body. Stress physically prevents you from losing weight. Not metaphorically, physiologically. In this video, I'm going to explain why and try and give you 3 things that you can start doing today to change that. Hey, my name's Paige, certified yoga teacher, personal trainer, and life coach, and this is probably the video that I wished existed when I was in the thick of it. So let's get into it. Part of why I ended up becoming a coach is because I spent years doing everything that I thought was right and not really getting the results that I was promised that I would get, and I wanted to figure out why that was. The missing piece didn't actually come from my PT training. It came somewhere from combining everything that I learnt in yoga about the nervous system, everything that I learnt in PT about the body and our physiology, and then everything that I learnt as a life coach about mastery of the mind. And I'm really grateful that it took me as long as it did to get to this point, because trying to understand all of that in one go would have been too much. But being able to kind of practice this and see how they intertwine over time and spend 10 years doing that for my clients in real time, I'm pretty certain on how this all works now, and that if you follow this advice, it will make a change for you. I spent years doing everything right and not really getting the results that I wanted, and I think that's a big part of why I ended up going down this road. I became a yoga teacher because I knew that stress was having a pretty big impact on my life, but I didn't realize until I became a PT that it was also having an impact on my physiology. And being able to understand and intertwine that is why you want time kind of stress. So stress, like chronic stress, the low grade, always there, busy corporate woman, busy mum, busy corporate mum kind of stress. Not the dramatic kind, like just the little bit all the time, all day, every day. The never-ending to-do list, the mental load, the guilt, the shame, all of that stress. The kind that stops you from sleeping properly, from making good food choices, from making good fitness choices, from making good mental health choices. That's the kind of stress that stops you from getting the body that you want, even when you do push through all that stress and make all those right choices. Let me break it down so we can get into the science. Cortisol's being thrown around all over the place, but we're going to talk about cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone. It is a stress hormone, and it is not an inherently good or bad thing. When your brain perceives stress, it releases the hormone cortisol. When cortisol is released, your body is flooded with glucose so that you have energy. Your focus is sharpened so that you can deal with the stressor. The example that gets given all the time is that the stress used to be running from a lion, and that your body needed that glucose to have the energy to run, and it needed that focus to try and find a way to get you out of that situation. Now, we're having that same physiological response to, like, my phone won't stop ringing or my kid won't stop saying mum. Kind of not the same thing. Physiologically, don't really need the same response. But evolution takes a lot longer than technology is kind of attacking us. So when you have like an actual stressful situation, say like a car accident or something stressful that happens, this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about the constant surges of cortisol, the stress that lasts for like days on end. We don't really get a break from it. Then we're starting to see the impacts of, like, we can't undo that stress and the impact of that stress by just making a couple of good choices. What this means is that your body can't tell the difference between real stress and, like, my phone won't stop ringing and dinner's not ready. That's a problem. You should probably fix that. That same evolutionary response means that when you are in this state of stress, this flooded with cortisol, flooded with glucose, and not having that physiological reaction to run from the thing, then your body does start to do a few different things, one of which is to store fat around the midsection. Part of that stress is that the body assumes, evolutionarily speaking, that we are about to come into famine, and so it is doing that in order to save you. Pretty much everything that you think hurts you was designed to help you. Cortisol is not good or bad because it is actually there, evolutionarily speaking, to save your life. This means that you're not weak, you're not undisciplined, you are just having a physiological response to a physiological thing that is not what you actually want to be happening. These responses from your body are, like I said, from evolution. They're not built for the life that we actually live now. Technology has changed the world that we actually live in versus the world that our body was designed for. So stop trying to blame yourself for that. That is not within your control. Before I get into how to fix this, I want to give you a little checklist, because most of the women that I work with don't believe me when I say that they are chronically stressed, because they have this idea in their head of what that looks like. So let's go through what stress actually looks like. Do you wake up tired even after a full night's sleep? Do you get a second wind at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night if you're a mum, as soon as the kids are in bed? Do you pretty much always crave salty and sugary foods, and usually late in the afternoon or late at night? Do you often feel anxious and on edge for no particular reason that you can figure out in that moment? Does your weight sit stubbornly in your midsection no matter what you seem to do in terms of diet and fitness? Do you feel like you're always like one thing away from just screaming because of overwhelm? It's pretty likely that if 3 or more of these things are hitting, then you are dealing with chronic physiological stress. Your body is probably being flooded with cortisol more often than you realize, and that is having an impact on your ability to gain what you should be gaining from making choices with food and fitness. Sorry, but I am happy to help you with what you can do about it now that you know. The first thing I'm going to tell you is the first thing that every therapist I've ever worked with has told me when I've reached a state of overwhelm and burnout because of trauma. Stop trying to do so much. Stop trying so hard. Let's do less. I understand very deeply that this advice feels really counterintuitive, but it isn't. And the reason that you have not heard this before is because you have been stuck doing the same things that haven't worked. So why don't we just try to do something different and see if we can get a different result? More specifically, what I mean is if you are currently in the gym 5 times a week doing HIIT workouts, then let's do less. Exercise is a stressor. If the body is already stressed, that stress response from exercise is no longer good for us. It is not helping us to build strength and resilience. It is causing us to tank our system. So maybe we need to do less intense exercise. Maybe we need to exercise less regularly, just for a small period of time while we try to correct this stress response. Or maybe forever, because I'm not a huge proponent of like doing a bunch of HIIT. I don't think it's good for you, but that's my personal opinion. For a lot of my clients, this actually means focusing on recovery. So we can still hit our workouts as long as we're recovering appropriately in between, because if we're already at a state of stress, we want to find that balance of our exercise helping our body to cope better with that stress. So it's not do nothing, it's do less often, with more space, with more intention. That's all the stuff a coach can help you with if you're interested. The yoga teacher in me wants you to understand that one of the things that you can do to do less is to focus on switching into your parasympathetic nervous system, which just means into rest and digest instead of fight or flight. We're not running from that lion. We're happy, we're chill, we're sitting in a camp around a fire, everything's all good. And yes, yoga is a practice that you can do for that, and I highly recommend it. But if you're not interested in that, the very least that you can do is start to focus on controlling your breath enough that your breath response isn't telling your brain that you're stressed, which is then telling the hormone system to send stress hormone to manage that, which then turns your breath, which then we start a little cycle there. We can break that loop by just doing some specialized breathing to bring us into that parasympathetic nervous system. We want your body to know that it is safe so that it can tell the brain that it's safe, so the brain can tell the body to be safe, and they can have this nice, happy, safe, cozy sit by the fire loop. There are heaps of breath practices that I could give you. The one that every therapist gives is box breathing. It's where you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you breathe out for 4, you hold for 4. So you're getting those 4 parts, the inhale, the hold, the exhale, the hold. You can do any variation of that. You can do it for 2, you can do it for 1. Physiological sigh is another great one. So that's where you take a nice deep breath in through the nose, another little one on top, and then you open the mouth and you just sigh it out. There are heaps. You can find one that works for you. You can find different ones that attach to different types of stress. I have different breathing that I use when I am working and I'm getting overly excited, as when I'm with my son and I am getting overwhelmed. So play around with them. Don't think you need to find the perfect one. Perfect doesn't exist, but taking a moment to breathe is the perfect choice if you are super stressed out. So let's just find a breath practice that we don't hate. So now I've given you something from PT page, I've given you something from yoga teacher page, and life coach page always wants to step in and have something to say. So hear me out. You need an hour a week. I don't care how busy you are. I don't care what kind of career woman you are. I don't care if you've got kids or don't have kids. I don't care if you're working and you have kids and you have like this humongous family that you take care of. I don't care. You need to find 1 hour per week. Boy, would I love it to be more than that. But I'm going to be realistic because I've been where you are. 1 hour a week. It's not for your partner. It's not for your kids. It is for you. It is not to be productive. I mean it. It's not to do stuff. It's not to achieve things. It's not to tick something off. If you can't make an hour for yourself, trust me, your body will find a way to take a lot more time than that when it wants. So do this on your own terms. Be the power woman that you are and find the time and make it happen. We all know you can't pour from an empty cup, but like physiologically speaking, you literally can't. It is going to be the end of you in one way, shape, or form. You're going to be snapping at your kids. You're going to destroy your relationships with your friends. If you haven't already, you are going to end up sick and in hospital. Like, things are going to happen. And I'm not trying to catastrophize. I have lived all of this myself. I help plenty of women who are coming out of those situations, or we're working really hard to avoid them getting in one. This happens all the time. It happens silently all around you. People are suffering because they can't make an hour a week to just try to fill their own cup. I'm not going to tell you how to do this. You need to figure this out. And if, like me, you woke up in your mid-20s and went, I don't know what I do for fun. I don't do anything for fun. I've just been focusing on my career and on getting all my ducks in a row. That's not as scary as it probably feels. Now you get to explore. And hopefully you have adult money so that you can start to try some hobbies, go and do some things and figure out what it is that you like. But you need to find something that fills your cup. I have a bunch of things. I like to draw, I like to sew, I like to paint, I like to do aerials. I have all these different things. And so every week I try to find an hour to do one of them, whatever feels right, whatever I have the actual time and space for. Sometimes that hour, I'm also parenting, but the kid is asleep. And so like I can't go and do something. Whatever it needs to be, you have to find a way to fill your cup. And 1 hour a week is really not that much. I've got a lot of clients who really like to read, and reading is that time for them. But if reading is the productive thing that you're doing to help you sleep right before you go to bed, that is not the same thing. And I just want to call that out because I know that you're watching and it's not the same thing. Practically speaking, I would love for you to actually figure out where that hour is every single week and put it in your calendar like an appointment, because there's something that'll happen if you are one of the people who uses your calendar to do things, where you will make it happen if you can see it that way. If you just say to yourself, I'm going to do it tomorrow, then tomorrow will become tomorrow, and you won't make the time. So the takeaway that I want for you from this video is that if you feel like you're doing all the right things and things are not moving with your body in terms of the changes that you are wanting, could it be stress? Has this been eye-opening for you? Because if it has, I would love for you to let me know. I put a lot of time and effort into putting these things together to try and help people, and if it's helpful, it would be nice to know. It would be very encouraging. I want you to really focus on trying to regulate your nervous system. Understand that this is not a you problem. This is evolution and technology kind of at each other. Regulate, breathe, make some time for yourself, slow down, try something different to what you've been doing in order to get a different result. The combination of personal training, yoga, and life coaching is why I work the way that I do, because mind, body, and spirit all have to be considered and all have to be working together in order for you to get there. You can't, and you never will, realistically, put 100% into food and exercise in order to get the body that you want. You have other things going on, so stop trying to do things in isolation. Start looking at yourself as a whole human, and then you'll be able to figure it out. If you like how I combine yoga, personal training, and life coaching to look at you as a whole human, then you might be the perfect person to come and work with me. I have a couple of one-on-one spots open at the moment. The link is down below. But if that's not within your budget, or you are feeling a little bit apprehensive about the whole like pages right in my face thing, I have a group coaching program as well, which is kind of more self-paced. So if you're in this state of stress and you need to slow down, that might be the support that you need without the push of investing in full coaching. So I'd love for you to look at that. But if you like this video, or if there's anything else that you want me to dive into, please put down in the comments below, like the video, subscribe. All of those free things go a really long way to me giving more so that I can make a bigger impact to help women like you. I'll see you in the next one.